Once again, John, we find ourselves smack dab in the middle of a Rage Select podcast.
Oh shit, I'm in the wrong place.
You are your Rage Select podcast. You're soaking in it, baby. You're on Rage Select.
I need a shower.
Yeah, it's like that gack that Nickelodeon's.
It smells weird.
Yeah. Just a lot of cornstarch. There's a lot of cornstarch involved in the Rage Select podcast. Anyway, hey, welcome. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
Just spoiler alert here at the very beginning. This is not the best of 2017. Jeff is still. Yakuza 0 is long, man, and then I got another long game after that. I want to do 2017 justice. I don't want to just, blah. I don't want to just ignore the things from 2017. So
you don't want people to claim that it's an injustice.
There you go. Actually, it's funny because what was it, like last week or week before? Enchantress came out for Injustice 2.
Yeah,
and last night I
haven't got a chance to play it.
Oh, she's cool. Yeah. I like her a lot. She's got a lot of really kind of dickbag moves. She reminds me of not in any move sense, but just in a tonal sense of like Melina.
Oh, okay.
And I like that because she's got like a lot of she's got some reversal moves. She's got some blocking moves that are really interesting. I really like the way that she's set up.
Okay.
Injustice 2 is a hell of a game. It's a hell of a fucking game. So much so that I've played almost all the DLC characters, and they're all real fun and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got a weirdo hodgepodge bunch of news and announcements and trailers and whatnot this week. But before that happens, I have three line items that I feel like we need to discuss, John.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does any of them have anything to do with the XFL coming back in 2020?
I'm sorry, I fell asleep while you were saying that. What is that's a feet balls thing, right?
The XFL, it's returning. It's Vince McMahon, owner of the WWE, is relaunching his football brand.
Is The Rock going to be one of the players?
No. They're going to be family friendly and stay away from promoting like the way they promote for the WWE. Like so much so. What I love about it, and this is the only thing I'm going to bring up, and we can move on.
Okay.
So they made this big deal about how they're going to make the players stand up for the national anthem, and during this, and also how they have a strict policy that if you have an arrest record of any kind, including like a DUI, you will not be allowed to be hired by the XFL, and you will not be able to play for them. So, and then they're like, but if any players from the NFL want to come over and play in our sport, they're more than welcome to, as long as they meet the prerequisites. And I'm like, yeah, the arrest record thing pretty much eliminated all but like maybe two people.
Well, it brings up a question in my mind of like, is that what we were like? You know what? I would watch football on television, but it's just so darn unfamily friendly,
and it's long. That's the other thing. They're like, we're making the quarters shorter. There's no halftime show. Yeah. It's just straight to the matches. We're going to try to bring all matches under 2 hours.
I'm trying to roll. I just wish they'd bring harder.
That mentality of shorter to wrestling instead of a 3 hour long Raw. Maybe get it back to 2 hours.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Well, now, what are the three things that you have?
Okay, well let's talk. Point the first. I as I said last week, I sat down and I watched all of Devilman Crybaby this week.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet.
You haven't watched it yet?
I don't really. I'm not in the mood for nihilistic, depressing stuff.
It's weird. I kind of was enjoying it while I was watching it, and then when I got to the end of it, and then I was like, well, fucking, why bother, Devilman Crybaby? Like, it's a very strange show in the fact that it's got a lot of, like, ultra-violence and, like, crazy sex nudity and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, I guess what I struggle with Devilman Crybaby, because the animation's really kind of interesting. At a lot of points, it reminded me of Peter Chung, the guy who created Aeon Flux. The kind of spindly people and the way that they move. And that was cool. But okay, let's take an example. What's an anime that we've both seen?
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. That's a great one, right? Cowboy Bebop has a lot of like themes that play out with the individual characters, right?
Yeah.
With Spike, you've got a man haunted by his past, trying to outrun, this violence that happened in his youth, and always kind of trying to stay ahead of it. And then by the end of the show, he's forced to basically come face to face with the resurgence of his past, and once and for all, kind of do his thing. Like Faye has this thing where she's been asleep for a long. By the way, spoilers for Cowboy Bebop, but come on. Faye's been asleep. She's trying to find her way in the world. She's kind of got this femme fatale thing. You got Ed and with her family. So the whole show has a lot of themes, and I feel like those themes have an arc, and that arc pays off. Devilman Crybaby seems to have an arc that's just like everything's bad and miserable, and then when you get to the payoff, it's like, yep.
Yeah, no, that's directly from the manga.
The end.
Yeah.
And I'm just like a lot of people, when I was watching it, I was thinking about how I was talking to somebody about it, and they said that it reminded them that it was kind of like End of Evangelion, where it's like a series that it's not like they're setting up for season 2, right? That it has a very finite end to this. It was like a 10-episode arc.
Yeah.
But Evangelion at least even had, for as much of a fucking mess as that show is, at least End of Evangelion was kind of about something, about like Shinji and humanity and like his relationship with his father, his relationship with people. Like, should humanity continue to exist? Like, should we be destroyed and evolved into whatever the fucking crazy? Whereas at the end of the day, I understand it's not like there were no themes in Devilman. It's just that like they all just felt like it felt like every theme, every plot line, every track ended with, and then it was the worst. The end.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, well, I don't understand why I would watch that.
So I've read a little bit of the manga that it's based on, and I've seen a few of the previous animations.
Right.
I know the one in like the 80s or whatever didn't follow it at all and was more superhero-y in tone, and
Right.
it had a little bit more upbeat, but not by much. Which is why I'm like, I don't care how good this show is. I'm not watching it right now. Right now, I'll probably watch it at some point in the future.
Sure.
Because I'm not in the headspace for that. I really just, in my life, I need some fucking, I am done with like dark, gritty, like nihilistic, everything sucks type. I don't care how good it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it.
Right.
I need something with some hope in it. And
I'm trying to think of the last time that I saw something that was it felt empty to me. Like even Hellsing, right? Like Hellsing Ultimate, right? When Hellsing went to like the epically dark place at the end, at Hellsing Ultimate, where it's like literally all the vampire Nazis versus fucking Count Dracula versus the church, and all this, like London's destroyed, the body count's immeasurable, everything is fucking off. Like there's still characters that I can really grasp onto that have an arc that completes. I think that's the problem that I had, is that nobody's arc completed. It was like the answer to every character's arc was just like, and life is meaningless, so just fuck off. What did you even expect? And I was like, it kind of sucks to me that you had this very stylistic, very good-looking, show that didn't really seem to have anything to say outside of the normal trite kind of like, people are monsters. Who's the real monster, John? It was man the whole time. And it's like, oh, fuck off with that. So I don't know. I mean, like I talked last week about how my bar for Netflix is like way lower because I have Netflix, right? So it's like it's free. I didn't leave the house. I didn't spend any money to go to a
No, you paid a monthly subscription.
Right. But even that was relatively low in comparison. So I mean, I don't know. It was basically 10, 20-minute episodes, about 3.5, 4 hours of my time, and I'm sure
everyone I know says it's really good. It's just really depressing.
I'd like to talk to some of those people. Well,
Well, you know some of them.
Yeah. I next time I see Matt, I'm going to make him tell me, because I understand like Godzilla was grim, but I understood where they were going with his.
I feel like it's the grim before the payoff in the next thing.
Or even the grimness is the character, like the main character in that Godzilla has an arc, right? About he hates Godzilla and he wants to punish Godzilla for destroying the Earth, right? And he has a beginning, a middle, and end, and then some other stuff after the end, and it's like, okay. But Devilman, when I got to the last shot, I was with it all the way up until kind of the last episode, and then I was like, oh, Well, okay, I guess whatever.
Okay.
Speaking of okay, I guess whatever. I also watched the 3 Junji Ito
the
Collection.
first 3. Yeah, I saw these.
Animes.
There's more. It's just that's all that's out right now.
Right.
I think there's going to be like 13 episodes in total, plus a couple of OVAs.
Right. Yeah. They're going to do Tomy as its own spin-off thing. And okay. Well, what did you think about that?
I liked it.
Yeah?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah?
I feel like one thing I noticed is that they're not be airing in the order that he did them.
Yeah.
They're airing them like it's story number whatever and story 72 and story 46 are aired together.
Right.
I feel like it's deliberate to ease you into what his stuff is best known for, because it kind of starts off with the lighthearted stuff in the first episode.
Soichi was not a good place to start if you want to get. I would hesitate to tell somebody to watch that first episode to get into Junji Ito.
Well, I'm just saying that one had kind of to me it had a Tales from the Crypt vibe to it. Like, as someone who loved that show, like I'm watching this, like, oh, okay, I'm totally on board for that. Cool. Yeah. And then like the second episode, I already forget which story was the second episode.
Well, there was 2 per, so it was the doll funeral, which is very short. Sometimes you get a Junji Ito story that's like 4 pages long, and that was like one of those.
Yeah, but there's the Long Dreams one, which I thought was really cool.
Okay, but you know what?
And then there was the
woman, the weird woman,
which I thought was again creepy and whatever. But then the third episode, I fucking love the third episode, which is the Crossroads one.
Oh yeah,
I really liked that one.
See, I think that I didn't really enjoy them, and I think that part of it is because I'm very, very familiar with those stories. So, like the Long Dream episode has a second twist in the actual manga that they cut out of the anime, and that was the thing that really nailed that episode down, or nailed that Long Dream as a story down, and they kind of cut it off at the end. And the same was true with the fog, the fortune teller crossroads.
Fortune teller crossroads thing. Yeah,
that's like a long story that goes on for like 6 episode, like issues or whatnot. So some of it is kind of, I feel like some of it is overtly truncated to a point where it doesn't work as well. And then I started to wonder whether the Ito stuff works better as print media, because you have that aspect of letting you fill in the voices in your head and the stuff that happens between panels.
But I'm honestly, I'm enjoying it so far.
I might keep watching it. The animation's a little cheap too, especially like I noticed it in the episode with the long-faced woman.
Yeah,
there's parts where she's like running, and they didn't bother to really like animate her clothing. She's got this dress on, and she's running kind of anime style through the forest, and her dress isn't like moving at all. It's just they took this thing and they were just kind of like they just took the picture of her and then moved it across the screen, kind of going up and down. And there's a few points too where I noticed, like in the Long Dream, there's the part at the very end where the guy crumbles, and they did that thing where they just crossfade to iterative shots of it instead of animating all the little pieces of the guy like crumbling. And I think that it would have had more impact. I just get a real sense when I look at the animation that the budget on that is really low.
It might be.
And that there's so much of Ito's work that I feel like comes from the detail that they're not entirely capturing in a way that does justice to the stories.
Okay.
But that's just me. I don't know, like Gaio, that one, they didn't ever really finish that particular story, but that was very well animated and very well put together. I feel like all the shots and the way that they put the compositions together really did carry forth the fear. Like there's that whole sequence of the shark busting into the house and kind of going after the people and whatnot, which I think is really good. But anyway, I don't know. I'll keep watching it. And the third thing is just because John, I can't get anybody excited, all right, about my Instant Pot. And if this goes on any longer, I'm going to have to make a goddamn cooking show video, because the Instant Pot is an amazing thing. And I made a stew last night in a couple of hours, and it's phenomenal. I've made some pot roasts. It makes rice really good. If you're not a person who cooks, you buy this one electric cooking object, and you can cook a ton of shit in it, and people should look into it. It's an electric pressure cooker. It's $100 on Amazon. It's really cool. Nobody cares.
So I just fell asleep. What was your third point? What was your third point again?
No, nobody cares about my Insta. I'm gonna make a video being like, watch, ingredients, 5 minutes. Delicious food. Look, it does all the work for you. It really sucks because I feel like nobody that I know cooks. I didn't realize this until like I started cooking, where I was hanging out with Brian Brushwood and the Scam School folks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, I got this thing and it like cooks, and everyone was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, no, but it's amazing. It's like, it's a pressure cooker and it makes sense. And they were just like, yeah, all right. I'm like, do you cook? They were like, nah. Like, nobody does. Motherfuckers. Damn it. So I'm sorry. I'm just a little frustrated that nobody's interested in.
I fell asleep again.
I know.
So what were you talking about?
That's fine. You just sleep and I'll just talk about it. Instant Pot. This is what I'm talking about.
Instant Pot. You smoking the weed? You on the reefer?
Yeah, we already made that joke.
Oh, sorry.
I think we made it on. It was one of the Resident Evil videos when I was trying to talk about Instant Pot, but. I swear, I'm just gonna have to make a video showing everybody how awesome it is. I wish that somebody had given me one of these things, because it's like a crock pot and a rice cooker, and it makes a bunch of stuff.
I'm gonna say something to our listeners.
Yeah.
If you want Jeff to make a video of him talking about the fucking Instant Pot thing,
so you had
below.
it. It's just called the Instant Pot
thing. Comment below. If you don't want him to, also comment below. And we'll tally up the votes, and then Jeff can decide whether or not he wants to do this video.
And whoever's meanest about whether I should or shouldn't be making it, you win. Like, you have to make the meanest comment. And if you want me to make the video, then you have to be really mean about how I haven't yet made the video about, like, Jeff, you piece of shit, make the fucking Instant Pot video.
I wasn't even going to go there, but sure, since you put it there. What do they win? The satisfaction of knowing that they made you cry.
Yeah. All right, well, I tell you what, let's move on to video game news.
All right.
And our first two stories this week are pretty familiar stories with you and I, John. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Okay, so Star Wars Battlefront 2.
That's still a thing?
Yep, still a fucking thing. They put out a thing that they're basically doing updates. Let me read you a few bullet points here. This is the one that I find interesting. We're working on a revamped progression system. Your feedback has been essential here, and we are preparing significant changes to progression that will address many of the things that we've seen players asking for. We'll be sharing more details about these changes in March. A game mode called Jetpack Cargo is coming in February. 2 teams of 8 players equipped with jetpacks compete in Jetpack Cargo, frantic, fast-paced way to play. The mode will be available for a limited time, so don't miss it. And a new season is coming. We've learned a lot from the first season of content of Star Wars Battlefront 2. We're integrating those insights into our plans moving forward. We know you're waiting for details on what's coming in the next season, and we'll have more to tell you soon. So, I think I already know this, and we've already discussed this a bunch of times, but, like, Battlefront 2 came out in November?
Something like that.
Early November?
I don't know. Probably, yeah.
And they're gonna revamp their progression system in March. Again, a second time. Yeah, they already turned off the I don't think they've turned the currency thing back on again. They did have the Last Jedi map, the crate map that they put out. But you know what I found out? John? So, we did that podcast where we did the spoiler cast for The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And then I wanted footage of that crate map.
Yeah.
You can't just play the crate map. You can't just say, hey, I want to play that crate map. Please play the crate map. What you have to do is you have to go into Galactic Conquest and then wait for it to come up in the random rotation of maps that happen. So then you're playing Hoth, and then you're playing this one, and then you're playing that one, and then you're playing that one, and now you're on Endor.
I mean, I kind of understand it in that they make sure that everyone plays every map, but also that seems stupid.
It's incredibly stupid. Do you remember Battlefront 1 whenever they put out one of those new DLC packs and they were just like, hey, I want to go play the new DLC because I'm excited about it. I want to play on Bespin. I want to play on Jabba's Palace, right?
Yeah.
I want to play Death Star. It's unfathomable to me that they would put this stuff out and then not give me any way to play it. I sat here for 5 hours trying to get to the crate map to get some footage to put up on that video, and I got like half a round. And then the rest of it's just dumb Kashyyyk. And I was just like, what is your problem, EA? Okay. But I'll tell you what, there were people playing Battlefront 2. There were still people playing Battlefront 2. What do you think? Do you think that how long are they going to drag out Battlefront 2? Because are they going to break their promise and basically say we're now putting out DLC for this, which would be like the last slap in the face, right? Of the whole reason the dumb loot boxes were in there was so that we didn't have to buy DLC maps like we did in the first one. Because I don't know how would they what would be the thing that they could do in this progression system that would be a make good to the point of keeping Battlefront 2 alive into the future as a thing that people play. Yeah.
I mean, my problem is that apparently the game didn't sell well.
Yeah.
So a lot of people bought it and then returned it.
Oh.
Or didn't buy it at all.
Yeah.
And yes, there are still people playing it, but it's just kind of one of those things that I'm just like, what do they do to keep the players that are still playing it? I don't know, because I'm not playing it. What do they do to win over the people who didn't buy it or returned it? I don't think there is anything.
I don't think there is. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting to look at this and see it as just an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep wanting to do a video. Nobody's talking about how shitty the single-player campaign. I mean, some people are talking about how shitty the single-player campaign, but everybody's like, boo, Battlefront 1, no single-player campaign. They're like, we got a single-player campaign. Here's the lady that's our Iden Verso, Imperial Commando, and she came out at E3 in a little Star Wars dress and was like, passion and players, and I got to call my mom. And then it came out, and it was like, this is fucking terrible. This is a stupid story. She's an Imperial Special Forces agent. By mission 4, she's turned to the rebels. Spoiler alert. But, I did you a favor, because then it's just generic garbage for 4 more missions, and then the game's over. And it's just
then they release an expansion for the story?
Yeah, and then they have the story upgrade that Jason and I played, and it was just like, but you didn't make me care about Iden Verso. She was kind of just a cipher. And then half the missions in the single-player campaign were like, here's the Luke Skywalker mission, here's the Han Solo with a beard mission, here's the Lando Calrissian mission, here's the Princess Leia mission, and it's just like, oh, okay, so you have a very short campaign, and half the missions of the campaign don't even involve Iden Verso, and then at the end you're supposed to be like, oh no, will she survive? And it's like, who fucking cares? She's nobody. She had one job, she did it badly, and ugh.
And I still laugh at the people who, before the game came out, before The Last Jedi came out, and shortly after that, were trying to present the theory that Iden Verso and the guy that she ends up with, I don't know his name, were Rey's parents.
That would have been the greatest.
But according to what you just said, it could still be the case because she's nobody. Her parents are nobody. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. Just dump her on Jakku.
Spoilers.
I'm sorry. My mind boggles at watching The Last Jedi and having Kylo Ren be like, you know who your parents are. It was Iden Verso, the Imperial Commando who turned to the rebellion. And she's like, what? My mother was an Imperial. And it's like, everybody in the audience is like, who? And there's just me in the back like, oh, come on! Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm actually really interested, again, to throw this back to the audience and say, what if you're unhappy with Battlefront 2, what could Is there anything that they could do to bring it back to you? If they added 6 new maps and completely phased out all of the card pack stuff, would that be enough to bring you back in?
And when you provide your answer, be as mean as possible.
Be as mean specifically to me, to Jeff, as possible. Jeff, you son of a bitch. There's only one way I would come back to EA. So anyway, I don't know. We'll have to see in March whether they do it. I think they fucked it up. I think they fucked it up.
Oh, I think they did too. I think it's going to be hard for them to I don't know if they should. On one hand, I don't want them to abandon the game because for the people that did buy it, I feel like whatever they had already planned, they should fucking stick to it.
Right.
But there is a part of me that's just like, I don't think there's anything they can do to fix things.
See, I'm waiting for the day when we see a story that was like unconfirmed rumors from Disney that they're going to yank the exclusivity rights from EA for the Star Wars franchise and start farming it out to other companies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so speaking of colossal failures of online multiplayer first-person shooters, how about a little bit of that Destiny 2? Also,
that's still a thing.
Not doing great. But
sorry,
I was my eyes glazed over. There was a whole other. They apologized again, and this story is from about 7 days from when you're hearing this. Again, apologizing. Like, it feels like all that Bungie is doing is apologizing. This time it was for they had a change. I don't even understand half the shit that throttled a bunch of the faction tokens that you would be able to get because there was an exploit where people were farming it in an area and then they scaled it back and it's fucking something else up. And another, we've heard, quote, we have heard player feedback that this solution is too disruptive. We're looking at a change that won't make players feel forced to run to and from a single chest for hours, while also not placing a hard stop on enjoying lost sectors. We want to ensure this every time you open a chest, there's loot inside. It's also interesting to me that I feel like Destiny 2 has been an unqualified disaster as well. Like,
I always felt like Destiny as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. So. But Destiny 1 had its fans. Like, it wasn't for me, but, like, Aaron loved Destiny.
Oh, no, I have a friend that also was a huge Destiny fan.
And he would just play it, like 3 times a week. He'd just sit down and play a bunch of Destiny. And it was like, it was never the greatest game of all time, but it was just something you could get online with your friends, do some, some raids, get some loot, see what you get, etc. This is what, like, the 5th time that Bungie has apologized on behalf of some stupid horse shit that has happened in Destiny. I'm not sure if they're just caught between an increasingly pissed off player base and like a bunch of contractual obligations that they have to Activision to do certain things. But again, I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. It'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. Apparently, there was a player tracker for Destiny 2 that got shut down a little while back, but people have been saying that the player base has been dropping off, which is not a good sign because with a game like that, once you get below a certain number of people playing, then you start to really go down hard because it's like Lawbreakers, right? With like 3 people being online at one point.
Yeah.
Where like if you can't get enough people in your online multiplayer game, then like there's no point in playing your online multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not entirely sure what the solution is. I found the story to be less than compelling, and and it just felt like more Destiny, which I don't know. I guess I'm just not entirely interested in.
I don't know. Didn't play it.
It is interesting though that there's actually another GameStop in Italy is literally giving away Destiny 2 if you buy Call of Duty World War II. Which is kind of strange. Activision's trying to keep the player base in Destiny 2.
Guess.
Like, hey, buddy, you bought a Call of Duty game. You like shooting people online? Give our other game, Destiny 2, a try. Look at all this awesome stuff in Destiny 2. Woo!
Play one game for the past to play one game for the future.
Damn right. So, I don't know. Is anybody in the comments section? I'm asking a lot of comment section questions
And be
today.
as mean as possible.
Be as mean as possible. Are you playing Destiny 2? Make sure to be as mean as possible to me when you answer. Jeff, you son of a bitch, of course I play Destiny 2! You piece of shit! Uh,
I'm sensing a theme for this episode.
yeah, exactly. So, all right. This is like 8 different. Oh yeah, I read this Forbes article that came out that was just like this person that was like, "Man, I'm really worried about Bungie. It just seems like they're under a lot of stress right now, and that like players are being real mean to them, and that Activision's being real mean. Everybody's being real mean to Bungie. Maybe everybody could just fucking leave Britney alone, you guys." And I was like, "Dude, fuck off. Bungie's a company. I gave Bungie my $60, and they gave me." In return, so like if I want to go on the internet and be like, that was meh and kind of bad and unlike the thing you did, then that's my prerogative. Paul Tassi, editor of Forbes or whatever you are. Hey, tell you what, let's move on to some more interesting stuff.
Okay.
Less the past and more of the future, which is also the past. So
That made no sense.
do you remember
The time?
a game that we played on the Asylum 3
Never
years
been
ago?
on an asylum, so I wouldn't know any games.
Okay.
Because someone never invites me to be on the asylums.
All right, man.
It's all Murphy all the time, and sometimes Grant.
Do you remember the game Yume Nikki? Nope. Okay, so Yume Nikki is a game. It's like a top-down. It's like an RPG maker game with a little girl, and she goes to sleep. She goes to these very strange and chaotic dream realms, and you're just kind of trying to get through them.
Okay.
There's a little bicycle you can get. There's a bunch of items that you can get. It was a free game. It was a cult classic. It was put out a while back. Well, the game showed up on Steam a little while back. And it turns out that this is because they are re-releasing it. February 23rd, they're putting out a re-release of Yume Nikki, but they've redone the game with 3D graphics.
Oh.
So instead of kind of top-down RPG sprites, it now looks like a full-on just 3D game.
Interesting.
Yeah. This is another one where I have to wonder because now you've never played Yume Nikki.
Nope.
Okay, I played a little bit of it, never finished it, but I'm curious because the sprite, like sometimes I feel like you can get more
with less.
Yeah, and that having the kind of very ambiguous, because like there was a whole thing in Yume Nikki where you're looking down in the background, it's just this weird moray of strange warping images, right? And so it's very disorienting. And then looking at this, it looks like very much like they're actually making these kind of esoteric worlds, but apparently it's being done with the original creators' input. So I don't know, maybe good. If you've never played Yume Nikki before, I'm pretty sure that, let's see, is the original, I think, is free and it's now on Steam. So if you want to get, you can play the original one there. That's UMENIKKI. And like I said, the new one is just called Yume Nikki Dream Diary, which is actually technically the name of the first one. Comes out on February 23rd. Or you can just go watch Jason and I play it. I think we both really liked it when we played it. So, but you can see this
I
is
can
the
see
same
some
thing.
of the similar.
Yeah. And there's also a trailer, which is worthless because it's just kind of a lot of spooky noises and static. So,
Okay.
Let's see. From there, let's talk about Metal Gear Survive.
We played it earlier
We
this
did.
week, yeah.
There's kind of two conflicting things here. First off, let me just say that after we finished recording, I played a few more rounds of Metal Gear Survive. Got like a barbed wire fence, so it was easy. I found some stuff that I didn't really understand before, where it's like if you just hold down the pickup button, you'll pick up everything around you.
Oh, okay.
I got to stay with my, like, if there's a single-player campaign with writing, I just need to be able to evaluate how good that writing is.
Yeah.
The game itself is okay, but mostly because it's built on that fantastic Fox engine, the fantastic Mr. Fox engine, actually. It's still pretty fun. It holds up relatively well. I just don't know if Metal Gear Horde mode is really the thing,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. A lot of people in the comment section have been in the comment section for that playthrough that we did. I feel like are angry at its existence, and then like kind of more angry with the mundanity of it, whereas I'm just more bored with the mundanity of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, because this beta, there was a report that came out that basically there's going to be that one, Metal Gear Survive will require you to be connected to the internet in order to play, which
I understand that one.
I think is still a thing in 2018. I'm not a big fan of that, but their reasoning is assuming like, oh, well, you have to be able to jump in and out of other people's games and call for your friends to come help you, even though it apparently has a single player. And then you're also going to be able to do microtransactions. You're going to be able to buy,
of course, currency
and stuff like that. However, one of the creators came out, or producers came out to basically to apologize. And this is from Yuji Kurikado, who basically said, no loot boxes. There won't be any kind of randomized loot boxes. The microtransactions will just be like either cosmetic or buying currency that you can use to do stuff. Well, I think that the perfect example is when we were playing it, you saw how there were revive tokens where you could use that to come back in the middle of a round if you're playing a single player.
You'll probably buy revive tokens.
Probably that's going to be a thing that you'll buy. But they also said fans and gamers in general seem to take Metal Gear Survive to be a continuation of the Metal Gear series, so I regret that we caused that confusion. And it's like, well, that's good, because you really have been kind of clammed up about what the fuck this game is.
Also, you called it Metal Gear, so...
Yeah. Some people have made that same thing, and I think I have too, that I wish they would take the name off of it. On the other hand, Metal Gear has had some weird spin-off bullshit.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like, it
has the name recognition with it, so it's understandable that they would use it, but also at the same time, it's like, if you didn't want the confusion.
Right. So it's like...
damned if you do, damned if you do.
Where I finally landed was after Revengeance, right? Because, like, I don't hate Revengeance, but the name Metal Gear meant a certain thing, and Revengeance wasn't that thing. Revengeance was a hacky slashy ninja Gaiden, Platinum Games, cutting a Metal Gear in half with your sword. And I don't have any problem with cutting a Metal Gear in half with your sword, but Metal Gear was like, you're all up your own ass talking about what it means to be a soldier and sneaking and like procuring on site and like stealth, and that just, so to me, I wish they'd take the Metal Gear name off of Revengeance, because to me Metal Gear, the Kojima Metal Gears, have a common theme of being sneaky games, stealth games, light action with very heavy plot stuff, and the plot in Revengeance is not exactly like, it's not the dumb, ponderous stuff that Kojima gives us in the Metal Gear games. So
at one point, Raiden is wearing a poncho and a sombrero.
That's true. He's got a robot dog friend. He's got a robot dog friend in that game. I mean, by the end of the first mission, you're cutting Metal Gear Ray in half with a sword.
Yeah.
Like, the spoiler alert, the end boss of the game is like Republican president jerk-off who's been nanomachine augmented, who you have a fist fight with. He, like, takes off his suit jacket, and he's all buff and stuff, and then you have a punch showdown with the president. And you know what? It's ridiculous, and it's glorious, and I fucking love it. It's not exactly Metal Gear. Now, I know that people are going to point out that in Metal Gear Solid 2, the president does turn out to be solid as Snake, and that's real stupid, and I understand it. But, like, what I'm trying to say is that Kojima's always had this kind of cerebral bullshit in his games, and that Revengeance wasn't exactly like you would never have a conversation about what it means to be a guy in a sombrero. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get myself out of this hole and say
I'm here for you.
I really still think that there is a track, there is a potential future. There's a Star Trek Commander Worf comes back from the Batleth tournament, branch, where the single-player campaign for Metal Gear Survive is pretty good. Not great, probably, but pretty good. Your friends got sucked into the wormhole into this other universe. You and your team are trying to go in to get them out. There's the unicorn zombies, and you've got to try to, you're separated from your team. You've got to go around the map. You've got to find stuff to rebuild your base. You're going to rescue people to bring them back in, kind of like the Mother Base stuff in Metal Gear Solid 5. And at the end, there's going to be some asshole who's ruling the place. There's going to be a bunch of bosses with themey things. It's going to be, a psycho rhinoceros and fire beetle and whatever, and you're going to fight them, and in between you're going to do these missions to get energy and blah 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 blah, right? There is a place in this world where that could be not the worst game you've ever played and kind of worth $40 once it goes on sale.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Anyway, let's move on to some really good stuff. New trailer for God of War. Story trailer for God of War.
Also, it released it confirmed the release date.
Yeah. This is my favorite trailer for God of War.
It's a good trailer.
And strangely enough, it focuses a lot on the kid, and I don't have a problem with that because I never put two and two together about the possibility that Kratos' son may just be at any point ready to Hulk out and turn super murder Kratos mad at everything. That the rage of the gods might be in him, ready to make itself known at any moment. But yeah, the story here really got me a lot more invested than even that first trailer. The first trailer was good in that it was just like, holy shit, there's going to be a new God of War. But just like, let's hunt, and then like, oh no, here comes this thing. Oh, hit him with the thing. But this is very expansive.
Yeah, no, I like what I'm seeing here. Yeah. I like a lot of the whole thing of Kratos, turns out, has been hiding the fact that he is a god.
Right.
From his son, thus also hiding what his son is to his son.
Right.
And kind of having to deal with that.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It's almost like it's like The Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
It's, a guy and a kid going on a weird adventure.
Well, that's been a lot of the comparisons. This is like the last of God.
Kratos.
Yeah, the last of Kratos or whatever.
But no, it looks good, and I think that we saw some stuff in here that looks very different from the kind of just generic Norse stuff that I feel like we've seen all through so far.
I will say I really like the one moment in the trailer where the guy that's like in the tree and his eyes glowing, and apparently he opens up a portal or whatever,
right?
And then he looks at him and goes, "Well, if you're gonna go, you'll need to cut off my head and take it with you." And the kid's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, the kid's
and he just looks at the kid like, "Yeah, it's gonna have to happen."
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna chop his fucking head off. But yeah, this looks good. I like what I'm seeing. The one thing I am kind of curious about, though, is that everything is that it's kind of interesting. I've only seen in the trailer him using the axe.
Yeah.
And then there's like, at the end, there's like pre-order for special shield things. So there's going to be a shield and an axe, but I wonder, like, one of the things that makes God of War so great is the kind of different crazy weapons that you get. And I'm wondering how many, like, where I'm not seeing any of those in the trailer. I'm not seeing them like,
and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with there being stuff that's not in the trailers that, maybe they, the idea is like the chains, they want you to use those primarily, but you do get other weapons as time goes on.
Yeah, maybe so. And we're going to be seeing this on April 20th. So it's a birthday present for Jeff. God of War, because From Software stopped giving me birthday presents. So, looks good. Looks real good. I'll tell you what else looks good is the trailer for Assassin's Creed Origins: The Hidden Ones, which looks very good. But I'm not really interested in. I couldn't be bothered to finish.
And this
the
is,
game.
as of recording, is actually already out. Because it came out the 23rd.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So, and from all the reviews I've read, is that if you loved Assassin's Creed Origins and you want more of what that was, here's more.
Okay.
If you're hoping for some kind of crazy departure from Assassin's Creed Origins, you're not going to get that.
Okay. I don't know. Assassin's Creed Origins just never managed to do it.
I'm playing it right now, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Okay. Would you consider getting this? Did this, as somebody who's really enjoying it, did this spark your interest for more?
I mean, I'm not that far into the game yet, so I haven't got to the ending.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm interested.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, assuming the ending doesn't just fucking like.
Well, this takes place 4 years after the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I know.
So,
and that's
I don't know. I just it didn't really do much for me, but hey, if it's doing it for you, that's the one thing that Ubisoft seems to be pretty good at is like, here's some DLC for the game that we made that's more of the game that we made,
Yeah.
Because there was also season 5 of For Honor is getting ready to start up with some new things.
And they've got permanent servers now.
Oh yeah, dedicated servers, heroes updates,
dedicated servers,
new modes. I find it interesting that like nobody that I know is playing For Honor, but like apparently like The Division is still kicking. Still has a pretty decent player base.
Yeah,
and For Honor has a certain player base, and it's like, goddamn, how could you still be playing For Honor? I mean, I even liked the game, but I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who still play it, just like they play Street Fighter all the time and play, all those other games.
Did you check out the Street Fighter V?
No,
arcade mode?
I did not.
Did you just play Injustice 2, which is a largely superior game?
I haven't really been playing any fighting games. I've been debating on whether or not I want to get the game that comes out this weekend, which is the Dragon Ball FighterZ game.
Oh yeah,
because first of all, the company that makes it makes great fighting games.
Sure.
And I know I'll have fun playing it, but I also feel like I'm a bit of a lapsed DBZ fan.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't watched any of Dragon Ball Super, so I'm kind of like, do I want to play it? Because
I always end up giving Dragon Ball Z games away because I'm like, I don't watch this anime. I'm not interested in.
I don't know. I'm kind of also in a weird place with not fighting game wise, but also with what's the other game coming out this weekend?
Monster Hunter?
Monster Hunter World.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not a big fan of I didn't really enjoy the previous I think I played Monster Hunter Try or something like that on the Wii U.
Did you play any of the beta on the PS4?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know the beta was going on until after it already ended.
Okay.
But whichever one came out on the Wii U, I played that for about 2 hours, and I was just like, well, this is boring, fuck this, and then moved on. And so there's a part of me that really wants to like those games because I know a lot of people who fucking love those games.
Sure.
Matt Frank being one of them. And I really want to play it as well. And I'm like, I want to like it as much as he does. But that one game I played was boring as shit. I don't know if I want to drop the $60 to play a game that I might find boring.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna get it, and you can borrow it because I'm probably not gonna have a chance to really super dig into it.
Yeah,
I'm still working on some other stuff.
I'm still playing a lot of shit too. So
yeah, all I know is that I was just thinking about Street Fighter V and how I still just shake my head and go, it's been roughly 2 years, almost 2 years since Street Fighter V came out, and they just put that arcade mode in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the fuck, Capcom? It's not you could have put this out without the single drawing ending story things a long time ago. It was just random matchup versus computer. You already had that functionality, you just didn't put it in there. Whereas Injustice 2, I'm fighting ladder matches for gear from the Justice League movie that I haven't even seen. And I'm having a great time doing it. And I'm like, woo. Yeah. Anyway. All right. We're going to speed it up a little bit. We got a bunch of trailers to look at here. Grand Blue Fantasy is Platinum Games' RPG that they've been working on. We saw a trailer for this a while back that was a very generic looking kind of just like fantasy world. And we got a 6-minute long trailer, which again makes it look like a pretty just generic fantasy world.
3 minutes of walking.
Yep.
And nothing else.
I think it's 2 minutes of walking and then 4 minutes of what looks an awful lot like Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah.
It doesn't look fast like a Platinum Games game does. It doesn't look as technical as a Platinum Games game does. Now, I don't know. This is just, I'm just looking from the outside. It looks like restorative items on the D-pad, some kind of meters that build up for doing special attacks. The face buttons are being used for different types of attacks. Generic kind of fighting orcs and little goblins and stuff. And then at the end, we get a boss fight with a guy with a big shield. And it all kind of goes exactly as you would think. I don't want to say that this looks like a bad game. It's just nothing that I see is really all that interesting. I don't know.
I'm sure there's someone who's interested by it.
I'm sure, too. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Ni no Kuni, or like, do you think that they took the assets that they were that they made for that Dragon game that got canceled?
Oh, Dragon Scale?
And then like ran them
Or Scalebound, I mean?
Scalebound, yeah.
Probably not, because that had like all the characters that you played as had like modern day clothing.
Right, but I mean, like, they at least had a big old fantasy world.
Yeah.
They maybe just put on different people and houses and characters
I
and
don't know.
stuff, and put a different shader over it so it looks like pastel instead of nitty and gritty.
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know. I'd be interested to see more. I mean, I think the last Platinum Games game that I played was Nier.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the combat in Nier well enough, but a lot of that was just wacky Yoko Taro stuff. So from there, we got another Japanese trailer for the DLC for Valkyria Chronicles 4. What did you think about this, John? You're a resident.
So my first thought is like, hey, I really hate it when companies try to sell me DLC before your fucking game's out.
Right.
But then my second reaction is, but it's Valkyria Chronicles, and this is the first thing that I'm seeing that's actual like any hint of gameplay. And
it looks exactly like
Valkyria Chronicles, which has me super excited.
Yeah.
Also, one of the DLC packs is an Eddie mission, which that was a DLC pack for Valkyria Chronicles. Having more missions with Eddie is great, and also having a mission set that has the original characters from Valkyria Chronicles teaming up with the new characters, fucking also great.
All right.
I just wish you didn't announce this to me until after your game fucking came out.
Well, you just want to play Valkyria Chronicles.
I do. I really do. That is a large part of it.
You're a bigger fan of Valkyria Chronicles. I feel like you and Valkyria Chronicles are the same level of like me and Dark Souls. Like you fucking love that franchise.
I do. I have bought that game so many fucking times.
Yeah.
And I'm still pissed that I've never been able to play any of the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. I was kind of curious. I wanted to look back at Platinum Games and see like they've done a half dozen things that I thought were bad.
Yeah, they kind of do that every now and then.
All right, so next up on the trailer parade, this is mostly just an announcement. The wonderful Dead Cells is coming to the PS4 and the Switch.
PS4, Xbox One, and Switch.
Oh, okay.
It's coming to all of them.
All right. For those of you who have never seen Dead Cells, you should go check out the Super Awesome Video Game Show where John and I played it. It's basically kind of a side-scrolling Metroidvania, procedurally generated Dark Souls. And if that sounded like too much, trust me, it's actually good.
It works.
It works. It's a whole thing of kind of how many resources can you gather before you die, and then you put that into going on your next run. It's almost like it's like a Rogue Legacy sort of, except it works better than Rogue Legacy. So if you haven't ever played it and you have one of those consoles, then good. Maybe it's time to check that out. Also, 7 Billion Humans. We got a trailer for this from who is the okay, so this is the same company that made Human Resource Machine
and Little Inferno.
And there's no real gameplay in this. It's basically just like all the jobs have been automated, and then the people are like, but we want jobs, and then Robot Donald Trump comes out and says, we've got jobs for you, we've got the best jobs. I don't know what that's Robot John F. Kennedy really, but and then they're like, all 7 billion humans report to this place for your jobs on Monday, and that's it. There's nothing else, but I like this company, and I think this trailer is funny.
I think they have some very interesting story with their games.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like all of their games, without saying it, are all in the same universe and actually are telling a story in different, like you're seeing different time periods of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Little Inferno was like everyone's fucking dirt poor, and like your whole thing is that you get this fireplace thing for Christmas or whatever, and you throw stuff into it.
Right.
And then eventually you blow up your house and you go to the company that made it. And
oh, yeah. Forgot about the end of that game.
yeah, it's a weirdly weird. And the second game, the other game you mentioned is
Human Resource
Machine. It's kind of the same thing. It's fucking crazy.
But it was
shit.
like one of those like programming games, right? Where you literally were trying to set up like a Rube Goldberg machine of people to make things happen.
Yeah, and I almost feel like each game is telling a different period of time. Sometimes you're getting a game that's in the past, sometimes you're getting a game that's a little bit in the future, sometimes you're a game that's in the middle, and it's just fucking weird.
Yeah, it is weird, but I like it. Next up, we've got Those Who Remain, which is weird because this could have just been written off for me as kind of generic horror weirdness.
Yeah.
But it looks good. Like,
Looks interesting.
It's got a flair to it. It's just very much like kind of gravelly voiceover about the choices that you make in the world, and this kind of weird, rooms that change into like being abandoned, and at the very end there's kind of a little bit of an action sequence. I don't actually see anything resembling combat. It's just like kind of walking around in first person.
I'm kind of hoping it's not a walking simulator.
Made me think that it might be a VR game, which
okay.
I was wondering, but I don't know. It doesn't have the VR. It doesn't have the VR branding on it, so it's probably not. But I don't know. And then last trailer that I've got is there's a big new Final Fantasy XIV patch coming out called Rise of a New Sun, and I know I don't really play Final Fantasy XIV, but there were two things in this trailer that I thought were really interesting. The first was the Ghost Train from Final Fantasy VI is making an appearance, which seems pretty cool. In fact, throughout this trailer, there were some little nods to Final Fantasy VI, which was my favorite Final Fantasy. Yeah. And then at the very, very end, we got a little Kefka face coming up, along with the 16-bit like laugh noise for Kefka. All of which is cool, but I don't have a million years to be playing fucking Final Fantasy XIV. I don't hate Final Fantasy XIV or anything, but it's a big ass game that's been going on for a long ass time, and I don't have.
Yeah, I have a friend that was really into the Final Fantasy MMOs. Like he was into the 11?
Mm-hmm. I was into 11.
And then he was into 14 for a while, but he's just he stopped playing it because he got a wife and you get a house.
Sure.
And they had a kid, and now they're kind of at a point where they can start playing games again. And he's just like, yeah, I ain't playing that. They just need to reboot that entire thing and release a new version of it.
Yeah.
So they ain't getting me back.
It's hard. It's hard with any type of game like that once you feel like you're behind the curve of just being like, it's that thing of for years I've been like, oh, well, EVE Online seems interesting, but every day that I don't play EVE Online gets further and further and further away from me. And so, all right, well, we got a bunch of so after this, we've got a few announcements, and then we're going to wrap up part one.
All right.
So this Avengers game project that's going on from Crystal Dynamics, I believe, has actually put together a really kind of Avengers team of their own of devs to work on this. So former Naughty Dog creative director Sean Eskag, Stephen Barry, who worked for 27 years at Visceral Games. Wait, who worked for 27 years that's not right. 7 years maybe. Visceral Games hasn't been around since the fucking 80s. So
are you sure?
Visceral? They were made for Dead Space. That was like 2000.
Are you sure that was their first game?
I don't know. I think this has to be a typo, but
it might be a typo, but I'm just saying.
Let's just say Visceral Games search. Let's see if I can't find this out here. Established, founded in 1998, 20 years ago.
Okay.
But that's still 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so somebody, one of the folks from Visceral, and then, the guy from Naughty Dog was the guy who wrote Uncharted The Last Legacy. So it seems like they're putting together a good group of people. I think that I really wish that the video game industry, I've been saying this for years, and I'm going to say it again. I'll keep saying it until anybody listens to me. These comic book movies, these summer blockbusters, we've forgotten how to do the movie tie-in game. And
did we ever know how to do the movie tie-in game?
I feel like we have ways now that now if they could understand, because can you imagine what it would be like if next year, say Thor Ragnarok, right? Thor Ragnarok comes out and there's a good Thor Ragnarok game, which you could totally make. Like there's like 5 or 6 different action set pieces. You could switch between the different characters that, you know, you've got Valkyrie and Loki, and like you could switch between the different characters and play, you know, through a game. It wouldn't have to be a huge thing, but it would have to be tied into the actual development of the movie. And I feel like if they could just get that pipeline, if they get that pipeline so that the franchise holders aren't strangling the game developers with the licensing costs and the restrictions about what they can do with the characters, but are actually partnering with them to make good games. Like, imagine if instead of bullshit EA, there was a game about The Last Jedi. There were enough action sequences in The Last Jedi to have, like, a single-player game about somebody doing something, you know, some unspecified rebel person having a mission during the escape chase.
Well,
you know.
I mean, the problem with that, and this is where the thing is that you're wanting them to do an adaptation or use set pieces from the movie. A lot of cases, especially now, the time that's required to make those set pieces for a game
right.
has to be so far in advance that there's no fucking way that they're going to let like if the script even exists,
right?
They would have needed to truthfully. Let's use Last Jedi as an example.
Yeah.
If a studio was going to start working on something for that, they would have probably needed to start working on it. I would say about shortly after the Force Awakens came out. When Rian Johnson came on board for that movie, there was no script. He was told he could do whatever he wanted after Last Jedi had already been released.
Yeah.
Or after The Force Awakens had already been released. So a lot of that stuff wasn't even there.
Right.
And so by the time that he said, oh, these are the set pieces for the movie, a game studio is going to be like, we don't have time to do that.
See, I actually remember when I was looking up The Force Awakens, or the Last Jedi. According to the Wikipedia page, the principal photographer for The Last Jedi finished July 22nd of 2016.
Yeah.
And they needed a year to do the effects work.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a pipeline where you pull an EA or a Ubisoft where you have 8 studios crank the game out in a year, and instead of, and it doesn't have to be like the greatest cinematic game of all time that does a thing I've never seen in a video game before. It could just be a really good action game where you go get a veteran series person, have them work this stuff up, wait to finalize the art until you can see what the movie viz is going to look like. I don't know. I think there's ways to do it, and I wish that they would try instead of just making fucked up phone games. Like, I understand there have been a lot of bad movie tie-in games, but I always appreciated watching them try as opposed to just throwing
I'm just
Dookie
saying,
on an
the reason that there were
Android.
so many bad ones is because they don't have the time to work on a game to make it to make one that's good.
Okay, but see, I think that what I'm saying is that I don't think it's a time. I think it's a resources issue.
It's time and resources.
Is that like that companies will give a 7-person studio 1 year to make the movie tie-in game, and then that studio actually has to kick back to the game studio has to kick back to the franchise holder money for licensing for that property. And I think that if you had like that Disney and Marvel and all that bullshit is big enough that they could, I mean, fuck, Warner Brothers has Warner Brothers games, you know, to have a Justice League tie-in game that's not dookie garbage. Like, somebody has to recognize it's like the moment that they turn that they learned that comic book movies could make a lot of money because people like those stories. It's like, well, video games could also make you a shitload of money if you started working on them far enough in advance, instead of going like, oh fuck, when is that movie going to be out? Oh, 9 months. Okay, well, like, fucking get a low rent studio with no talent and pay them $0 to make a shitty game, and we're going to concentrate on the name recognition to make up our sales, as opposed to hire a good game developer and give them enough resources to turn out what is a good video game movie tie-in that could be done if you had enough resources in conjunction with the studio, instead of making it this mercenary thing where they're just like, here's no money and no people, make a game in 8 months, and then it's got to be, and then there's no way it's going to be good. So I feel like it could happen, not the way that they currently do it, though. The way they currently do it, all you're going to get is Android phone garbage games. I mean, Pacific Rim. Come on, that was perfect for a video game.
It had a video game.
Yeah, it was a Kinect game, for fuck's sake, right?
Well, I mean, you didn't need it to Connect to play it.
All I know is that it was only. I don't think it was on the PlayStation 3.
No, it was only Xbox Arcade.
Yeah. There was. You didn't even need to use the people from the movie. There was a whole untold backstory in the movie of the wars with the Jaegers and the kaiju.
It was just a fighting game.
Yeah, you could have done that. You could have had.
That's what they did. It was just a fighting game.
But they released it on one platform and it was like shoved over here. Like I'm talking about, put it out on all the platforms, make it a big thing. Anyway, Overwatch. Blizzard World is live, and so are all the new cosmetics and stuff for Overwatch.
Yes.
So I haven't gotten a chance to play Blizzard World. Okay. I'm a little meh about that, just being a big old Blizzard wank level of just like.
Well, I mean, so I'm looking at it and not having played it, but also hearing some people talk about it. It's basically King's Row.
Oh, really?
Just with a Blizzard World skin. Like it's very like the same. Like it feels the same as King's Row. It's from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm still looking forward to playing it because I love me some Overwatch and I love me some Blizzard. So it's a map that's specifically done to celebrate Blizzard and all its stuff is cool. And all the new skins and stuff that are not tied to a specific event, they're just now permanently in the game forever. Yes, I am happy for that.
Yeah,
I want to play them all. I want to get them all.
And today I loaded it up just to look at some stuff, and they have a new thing on the I'm saying on the PlayStation where it was a new tab that was like the Overwatch League, and it was like live.
Yeah, you can watch the I knew about that.
But when you click on that, it launches the PS4 browser to Twitch, and I'm like, I don't mind that you've got like a partnership with Twitch, but the PS4 web browser kind of sucks.
Also, it could direct you to the Twitch app on the PS4.
Yeah. It seems weird to me that they don't. Blizzard is so slick that doing that is just like very kludgy. Wish they could just pull it up. Anthem is pushed back
Still a thing.
to 2019, which I guess they've now decided is the amount of time they need to let everybody get the Battlefront 2 taste out of their mouth.
Yeah, didn't they also pull in all studios or all whatever subsects of their studios, 100% of BioWare is now.
Oh, I don't know.
Is now working on Anthem. There is no other game that's being worked on. It's,
sure.
They apparently have small teams that are working on DLC for certain stuff or whatever, or continued stuff that they're.
What are the games they have? I mean, Andromeda is done.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, there's something that they're doing for. There's some people working on some as a very small team, it's working on some basic functions for the next Dragon Age game, but it's such a small team that it's not even it's maybe 13 people.
Okay.
That's doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's apparently something being worked on for something else. I can't remember what it is, but then everyone else in the company is 100% working on Anthem. There are no other games being developed on. BioWare is now we work on one game at a time studio.
Cool. I think that EA has a 2018 credibility problem that they have to make up.
Well, I think BioWare is also kind of shit, if this game ain't good.
Yeah, they're done because Andromeda, they tanked a beloved franchise. I mean, and I've read some of the postmortems about that. And it's interesting kind of what they were trying to do, but Mass Effect game came out last year, John. I don't care. I don't want to go back and play it. I want to watch GIFs of it look stupid where people walk backwards. Pillars of Eternity 2 has an April release date. I liked the original Pillars of Eternity, and April 3rd for PC, Mac, and Linux, you'll be able to play Pillars of Eternity 2. So
nice.
There you go. Unfortunately, the Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency, which you probably don't know, but is David Jaffe's studio, had to lay some folks off. I'm not entirely surprised, considering that Drawn to Death was
Not good.
stupid. Like, just I don't know. I mean, like, it reminded me of Calling All Cars.
Yeah.
I don't think that David Jaffe. I think that we're seeing in a lot of ways, like a lot of these old game developers just be like, "Yeah, I got this brand new thing," and it's like it's notebook paper, and it's I mean, like it looked fine, but it wasn't very fun of a game to play.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Lawbreakers a little bit. So
Though Lawbreakers was fun to play. Just was
fun to
very
play.
generic looking.
yeah,
It had the opposite issue.
yeah. So there you go. David Jaffe and Cliffy B get together. You know. And we got a few more just for fun. So if you didn't get in on the pre or on the Kickstarter for the Deadly Premonition board game, Amazon is now accepting actual just straight up retail pre-orders.
I'm kind of excited for this.
If you want to play a board game based on
I kind of do.
Deadly Premonition,
I put it on my Amazon wish list.
okay, fair enough. I love the fact that we're getting all this casting stuff from Detective Pikachu, including now Ken Watanabe
Yes.
is going to be in Detective Pikachu, which I think is absolutely a great choice.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, either yesterday today, principal filming has actually started.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. I'm glad. I think that it's weird that that's the thing. It's weird that it's Detective Pikachu.
I'm
but
excited.
Hey, you know what? And last but not least, there's a story here, and it's just a blank web page. I can't. Can you read this, John? I don't see any.
No, I can't. I can't.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. John Cena is apparently in talks.
Oh, that's why we can't see him.
That's right. To play Duke Nukem, and I think that that's a really good choice.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
I actually agree with you.
Yes.
I think that John Cena playing a Duke Nukem character, playing Duke Nukem,
Yeah.
out of anyone in the world,
That's perfect.
I think it's a good choice.
Right.
It's being done by Michael Bay's Studios, which
I can also see that as a good thing.
I also see that as a good thing as well. Who the fuck cares about a Duke Nukem movie?
If it's got John Cena and it's made by Michael Bay's studio, I do, motherfucker.
And just to make sure it's just like the games, it's not coming out for 10 years.
Okay, good. Oh, it's funny. This is coming from a Game Informer story, and at the bottom it's our take, and it says, "I just can't see John Cena in this role." And it took me a minute, and I was like, but yeah, that seems absolutely perfect to me.
Yeah,
I would totally watch a John Cena.
I don't see a movie about Duke Nukem being good on any, like even on a bad level, like so bad it's good level.
Sure. Is it a comedy? Is it a self-aware comedy about how the archetype of Duke Nukem is stupid now? Kind of a Johnny Bravo action movie. I guess it could be kind of like the dumb Mark Wahlberg in the Transformers movies, but even more just like stereotype over the top until
sure, whatever.
You know,
if they make it good on them, and right now he's just in talks. He's not like definitely going to play the character, but if they can get him, then good on them. Whatever, I'll watch it when it's direct to DVD on Netflix.
Okay, I just real briefly. The more I talk about this, the more I can see it, because if it was Michael Bay, like levels of violence and explosion, like I don't care what you think about Michael Bay, I think he still does stuff blowing up real good.
Yeah,
it's only when fucking Shia LaBeouf or Mark Wahlberg is opening their mouths. But on the other hand, he also writes those like hyper caricature characters, which could work for Duke Nukem as a kind of a, I don't know, like Super America. Like, it almost works as like Super America, Michael Bay, John Cena, Duke Nukem action movie. I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
I can kind of squint and see where that all comes together and makes something that's eminently watchable. And you're just like, yeah, fuck yeah, Duke Nukem. You blow up those Russians or whatever.
Aliens,
yes.
Because that's what Duke Nukem is about. Alien. Maybe they'll fight Ninja Turtles. I don't know.
Oh, man. I just want to see John Cena's screen test of him saying, those alien bastards are going to pay for shooting up my ride. And that is all the news that we have. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we are going to talk about some email questions. You ready, John?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's take a break. And it's time for questions, John.
I'm ready. I have
actually,
answers.
you know what? Before we do questions, I just wanted to do one.
Son of a bitch!
Brief
I was ready
thing.
for answers.
One brief thing. I wanted to just straight up apologize to everybody on Rage Select and also Brian Salisbury about the audio problems that we had with the Inpatient. I was trying to do a new thing with lavalier mics and it didn't really work, and I also had a sound card problem that crapped up all of our audio. And it sucks because I felt like we had a really fun episode that's just very difficult to listen to because the audio is just really terrible. So I am going to be putting out another video. I'm going to try some stuff by myself just to record a few things and see what happens. But I got a new mic that hopefully should make that whole... I just want to get to a place where we can do, like, you know how Jason and I did the Skyrim thing? Where I can do that with the green screen, with the VR and the game, but also have the person with the VR headset able to talk at the same time.
Yeah.
And I bought a $20 lavalier mic, which, you know, people are like, just buy a lavalier mic. And I'm like, okay, so I did. And this was one that had 5 stars on Amazon, and it picked up just about everything from the room because my room here is not soundproofed. I just have very good microphones. So the options are, you know, spend money to soundproof my room or check into other microphones. So I think I got it licked. Sorry to everybody. This is my bad. So, mail@rageselect.com is the email address, and our first email this week comes in from Mr. Hannibal Montana, who says, "Dear Dashing John and Jeff, I do not like award season. A night that supposedly celebrates the art of film turns into a horse race where otherwise good movies become despised because they won over movies that the peanut gallery on Twitter thought should have been awarded. How would you improve the Oscars? Personally, I would add categories such as Best Stunt Performance and split the Best Effects category into Best Practical and Best Digital Effects. I would also have no single winners. Instead, have Academy Award honors for several individuals in a single category. I know such a show wouldn't be exciting TV for most people, and there's no stopping Twitter from whinging about the Oscars, but I'd rather have a show that highlights great movies to a mainstream audience than one that turns beautiful works of art into meaningless competition. Thanks for all your awesome videos, Hannibal Montana." I think a lot of this stems from what they announced the nominees, and like in the animated category, it was like Boss Baby, and then Lego Batman didn't get nominated.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's start with a question, John.
So I think I know how to make it better.
Okay.
A battle royal style Hunger Games between each category, and the winner is just who lives.
And it's a battle to the death.
Yeah.
For the I'd watch that. I'd watch it.
I mean, it's going to cut down on the amount of awards that are going to be available, or people who are available for awards next year.
Sure.
But it's a chance I'm willing to take.
I wait for some director who's just like, oh man, I fucking love this script, but I fought in last year's Academy Awards games, and I'm not going back. I'm not going to make this movie. It's too good. I want to make B Schlock because I don't want to be nominated and have to go to the.
And then the only thing that gets nominated is B Schlock.
There you go.
Because everybody stopped trying.
And then there's like really bad movies, but then like the people that made it, it's just like a bunch of MMA fighters and Navy SEALs that made a movie because they're like, oh man, we're gonna fucking win the Academy Awards this year. Well, first off, Hannibal Montana, I think the awards shows in general are bullshit because I don't know that there's a middle ground. Like, you know, you can go online and find all of that you have to spend like several $1 million to get to do the promotion to get your film even considered for nomination, right? And then a lot of it is more about politics and money and that sort of thing than it is about what is actually a good movie. I actually think that if you look at the Academy Awards over the years, like what won in 2016? What was
I don't. You ask me like I know these things.
Let's see if I
couldn't even tell you what won last year.
That's actually a good point. 2016. Was it The Revenant?
It might have been. I don't know.
let's see. Oh, this doesn't actually have the winners. 2016 88th Academy Awards. Spotlight. Okay, you know what? That was actually a good movie. That was actually a good year for that. But like, and I'm actually amazed that both Mad Max Fury Road and The Martian got nominated for Best Picture. But like, I've watched Mad Max so many more times than I've watched Spotlight. And Spotlight was a good movie. I liked that movie. That was a good year because The Big Short was in there, which I thought was a really good movie.
Yeah. Here's the thing: I actually liked a lot of the nominations for this year.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a problem with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there were a bunch of people that were upset that Wonder Woman wasn't nominated in any category.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, I haven't seen Wonder Woman, so I can't really comment. I'm sure there's probably a category that it could have been nominated in somewhere.
Yeah.
Especially considering Suicide Squad won an Academy Award one year for something.
It's probably best effects. They always
I
give
think it was
that
like best costuming or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the reason people are upset is like, well, Suicide Squad was nominated for this and it won.
Right.
And now Wonder Woman's not going to be nominated for something.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have been like in Best Picture or, you know, whatever, because from what I've heard is it's a good movie, but it's a good DC movie.
Right.
Like, it's not a good movie on, you know, and again, I haven't watched it, so I don't know. So, you know, say what, you know, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. But I'm actually okay with a lot of the nominations for this year. Like, you know, fucking Shape of Water is fucking sweeping a lot of the awards. You know, and then also Get Out is getting a lot of awards as well. Or getting nominated for a lot of awards. That's fucking great.
I think they may have pulled back a little bit. I mean, like last year it was Moonlight, and Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea, and then La La Land was in there, and a lot of those movies I'm just not really super interested in.
Yeah.
I like sci-fi and action, and traditionally speaking, those movies don't get a lot of play in the Academy Awards. So like The Last Jedi is not up in the Best Picture list, even though I think that the Best Picture list, I haven't seen all of these, but Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, which I haven't watched yet, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. I've seen about half of those, but what I did notice was that when I was looking through the nominations, like in Best Film Editing, like you have to get down to film editing, and in film editing is Baby Driver and I, Tonya, as well as Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Three Billboards. And what I don't like about the Academy Awards is that, like, I thought I, Tonya was a real good movie, and I thought Baby Driver was really good. There's no way that either of those are going to win out over, you know, it's going to be it's always one of those things where it's like, and then this is also Dunkirk, and then this is also The Shape of Water. Like, The Shape of Water got 4, and Dunkirk sweeps the Academy Awards or whatever, right? Where, like, so I've long ago stopped bothering using the Academy Awards as my litmus test for what is a good movie. Like, I'll look at what's nominated, and if there's a thing on there that I think looks like a good movie, then I'll go watch it. But like, I to this day have not seen The Artist. And I think that what was the year that Gladiator won all the awards? I think Gladiator's hugely overrated. I don't think it's a bad movie, but just like hugely overrated. Same with Shakespeare in Love. There was that one year where it was just like Shakespeare in Love, Shakespeare in Love, Shakespeare in Love. And I was like, I've seen it. It's
I will say there was one thing in regards to Shape of Water, because again, I love that movie. It probably was my favorite movie of last year.
Right.
But one of the things that people got upset about is, like, if you look at it got, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor, Lead Actress, but in the Best Male Actor category, no one is nominated from Shape of Water, and I think it's hilarious because a lot of people are like, "Oh man, Michael Shannon got snubbed,"
right?
And it's like, well, I mean, he's kind of the lead male actor, but not really. I mean,
it's the guy in the
if
suit,
anything,
right?
Doug Jones is being snubbed, because holy fucking shit, that guy doesn't have any lines of dialogue, and it's all practical effects, and as far as his costume, and he is acting the shit. He is on the level of all of the actors on that film, and he has the hardest job because he has to act through prosthetics,
right? Mm-hmm.
And he is doing an amazing job, and the studio just not not there. And I get it. I get it as well, and I'm not upset by it, but I do feel like, that's a fucking snub.
I think I know how I'd fix it. Is that I would it would make things dramatically more difficult, but I almost feel like it would be worthwhile splitting the, like, say, best picture category into like best comedy, best science fiction, best, horror, best, like, if you had a comedy for the genre, because I don't think that it's fair to put the best action movie up against the best drama, because traditionally speaking, the Academy likes drama more than action. Film critics generally tend to like drama more than action.
Yeah.
I like action more than drama because I can appreciate when a movie is doing a thing. I know that I carp a lot about stuff.
Well, then
but
you end up with the Golden Globes or whatever, and you end up with the Get Out listed as a comedy because there is no fucking horror section.
That was not a comedy. It was not a comedy.
It's a dark comedy, but it's not a comedy.
I wasn't laughing at all during that movie. But yeah, in generally speaking, I mean, there was one year where my family wanted to watch the Academy Awards, and I never watch them. The next day I'll go look them up. But Hannah Montana, I long ago started to move away from the idea that just because somebody tells me that a movie is really good, that then it is very good. I just want to watch it if I'm interested in it, and then be like, oh, that was very good. And sometimes it takes me a while to watch a thing, or people have to recommend it to me, or I have to get a recommendation from people that I trust. But I don't care. I don't care if the Academy gives it to, Dunkirk, even though I liked The Shape of Water better.
Yeah.
Because that's just a bunch of Hollywood jerks.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I think that's where most people should be. It's like, yes, if the movie you really like does win an award, you should be happy for that. But if the movie you like doesn't win an award, who cares?
I feel like that's just a thing.
It doesn't change how much you like the movie.
Right. That's a thing that we've gotten, that a lot of people have gotten into, especially with the internet, is the idea that you need some kind of external validation, that, like, if you like a movie, if you think that Leonard Part 6 is a good movie and everybody else is like, that movie sucks balls, that somehow devalues your own enjoyment of the bad movie.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I have gotten past that point to just, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I don't care that you think Hudson Hawk is a terrible movie. I fucking love that movie, and nothing you can say could make me not love that movie.
And nothing you can say could make me like that movie.
And I'm not trying to make you like it.
And we can both sit here.
I'm just agreeing with
right.
you and using that as a prime example.
Exactly. Like the people that don't like The Last Jedi, again, they're not making me dislike The Last Jedi. I just find it weird that there seems to be a subsection of people that really want that want you to agree with their opinion about a thing. And I've run up against that wall too many times, especially with my own personal taste of music and TV shows and movies and video games and all that stuff, that I don't care. Like, you remember the year where the Walking Dead Season 1 Telltale game was just like, Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't really like it all that much. Like, I wouldn't have given it my Game of the Year. But it doesn't matter to me because whatever, right? Like, I like the games that I like, and I don't like the games that I don't like.
Well, there was also a lot of people who were like, they only chose that game because they wanted to be different. Like, they wanted to be like, see, it's not always the AAA games every year.
It was. I don't want to devalue. I don't want to say that I don't understand why that game was very popular and why people were very much into it. For me, I guess it just came down to a thing where there was definitely the phenomena of the Walking Dead Season 1 video game, where it was kind of like every so often where you get that game where non-gamers, people who don't play a lot of video games, end up playing that one game and they're really into it. And then, like, so it becomes this kind of sweeping thing. And it was also one of the first times where the episodic thing was still relatively new, I feel like, at that point in time. And then having it tied into a franchise, like The Walking Dead, which was very popular at that same time. But in any case, Hannah Montana, I'll tell you how I would improve the Academy Awards is cancel them. Cancel them entirely and let us all just go watch movies that we like. And I don't need anybody to tell me what. I'd rather have somebody that I trust tell me that a movie I've never seen before is good to encourage me to go watch it than to have somebody tell me, oh, you know what? Ghost Story isn't on there anywhere? Is there no...
I don't know. the hell's Ghost Story?
Casey Affleck and this woman, and it's like he's got a sheet. It's like he's a ghost, but it's like literally a sheet over a guy with 2 holes cut out on it. Very artsy fartsy. I didn't actually watch it.
I also, if I'm not mistaken, while we were on break, I was reading a thing where Casey Affleck put out a press release that about the Oscars, about him not taking part in them, and also came out that he's a fucking shitbag human being.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because of his comments.
Yeah. In any case,
I didn't read the specifics.
I still haven't seen a lot of. I like Titania. You go watch Titania. I got to see Thor Ragnarok again. I don't see Thor Ragnarok on this movie. On this
I still
list
have not seen that movie
anywhere.
I really want to see that.
I've watched it like 4 times. And
I
think
need to
it's
watch that. I need to watch Blade Runner and a few other movies that are just now coming out on DVD and Blu-ray.
Coco,
I
Shape
need to
of
see,
Water for me, and I think 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. All those I've heard good things about, and I would like to see. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch them yet. So, also, there's another movie. Was it last year where the Belko Experiment came out, and there was like another movie because the Belko Experiment was James Gunn. It was like the company where the doors all closed, right?
Yeah.
But then there was somebody else that did a very similar movie.
Well, the Belko Experiment's also very similar to a lot of other things.
Yeah, but this was like same year, very similar premise. And everybody seems to agree a much better movie. It was like
probably. I can't think of what it is.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, if I was going to do a thing, probably breaking it out into or even if you wanted not to put it into categories, but to maybe break it into like budget categories. Like I'm thinking kind of like in boxing, right? You don't have a welterweight fight the heavyweight, right? So instead of breaking it out into genre categories, maybe we can find a way to classify movies by like movies that cost less than $30 million to make. Here's your category, and movies that were over zillions of dollars. That way, maybe you just split like franchise blockbusters into,
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that every movie is the same, and I don't think it's right to just stack them all up next to each other. Yeah. It's the way that video games do, like best action game, best driving game, best puzzle game, best handheld game, right? Because it wouldn't.
And yet, when we do our top 10 of the year later on, it's everything together.
I don't think we play enough games to split up all those categories. Like, John, and now it's time for us to talk about best sports game of 2017. Did you play any?
Mutant League Football.
Right. No. I have no nominees. All right.
No, that came out. That actually officially released a couple weeks back. So
okay.
Didn't come out in 2017. So
our next one comes in from Andre, who says, "Hi, Jeff and John. This is Andre from Ecuador. I recently finished watching The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. It was a very good show about all the history behind one of the most popular toys made, so I wanted to ask you 2 questions. 1, what was your favorite toy line that you had when growing up, the one that you always wanted to collect every single figure? And 2, what video game series would you love to become a toy line that would be as famous as Barbie or Ken or Star Wars? Thanks for all the hours of entertainment, Andre from Ecuador."
I have also seen this miniseries, and it's funny because it's actually they released 4 episodes of it, and then there's 4 more episodes coming out later this year to wrap up the season or series as a whole.
Okay.
It's actually really, if you haven't watched it, it's actually
no, I totally watched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it came up over Christmas, and I was just like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, I remember Ken or Star Wars." And then, there was fascinating look at stuff. I didn't realize. I found it really interesting the way that He-Man had this titanic rise, and then it's just like, bam! Like, it just dropped off hardcore. So,
and then it kind of showed signs of coming back with that newer cartoon, and then kind of dropped again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. For me, Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Okay.
Like those were mostly Transformers than anything. But Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, and Transformers were kind of the ones that, like, when I went to the toy store, those were the ones where I'm like, get me this, this, and this. And then a little bit later, Power Rangers as well.
Right.
But those were kind of expensive. And outside of having, like, the toys of the Rangers themselves, I could never get the Zords, and I was always disappointed.
Sure.
Though I did get the White Tiger Zord at one point, which was really cool. But then I lost pieces to them, and I got really sad.
Son of a bitch.
But the big one would be Transformers, followed very closely by Ninja Turtles, then G.I. Joe. but Transformers different. I mean, even into my teens and late or early 20s, Transformers.
Okay.
I still have a lot of my Transformers.
I think that it's funny because in talking about this, Andre, while John was talking, I was like thinking back. I had the occasional Ninja Turtle, I had the occasional the Centurions, the Cops, right? But like the ones that I had the most of,
Cops fighting crime in a future time.
Damn right, BP vests. The ones that I had the most of were cheap ones because we didn't have a hell of a lot of money when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, same here.
And because of my age, I fit right into the toys that made us because for me, it started as He-Man.
Yeah.
He-Man was my first one because I was a little kid when He-Man came out, and that was just perfect. It was perfect. So I had a bunch of different He-Mans, and they always had to battle damage He-Man. And He-Man and Skeletor. I remember one time when my sister was like 2 years old, she pulled the leg off of my original He-Man, like the very beginning one. Didn't have any special bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And I cried and cried, and my mom was like, well, it's a month till your birthday, but here, and it was the battle damage He-Man with the little thing in his chest that makes little scars happen on it, which I still kind of wish that I just had my original He-Man. Thanks a lot, my sister. She was like an infant, so
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, and like I was kind of I'm young enough that I was at the tail end of the He-Man stuff.
Yeah.
But I had like hand-me-down stuff from my brother, and
I don't think I had a lot of them. Like, I don't think this actually is Andre's question is, well, like, which one did you try to get all of? Because there were too many He-Men.
Oh, yeah.
I had, like, Mechaneck and Trapjaw and Skeletor and He-Man.
Oh, yeah. No. You could never get all of them.
But, like, yeah, it was hard. And it was funny because as a kid, that was a lot of times what you wanted to have friends for, right? Was that my friend had like Beezor and Mossman, and then I would bring over Trapjaw and Mechaneck, and we would fight Trapjaw versus Beezor, but they made so goddamn many of those things. Yeah. And nobody, I did know a kid whose parents inadvertently bought him Stinkor, and I was like, ha, sucks to be you. I got to smell this thing. Ooh, that smells terrible. They just made a really smelly action figure.
Yeah.
But the ones that I really probably had the most of were definitely Star Wars. I
had a lot of those.
I've been sent off for some of them. I think the Emperor, Gamorrean Guard. I had the Millennium Falcon and an X-Wing, which were some of my favorite toys as a kid. A lot of people forget, like, in that thing they talk about, like, the original Luke Skywalker, like, in flight suit, he had like basically like a happy face painted onto the front of the character, like anything like Luke Skywalker. It wasn't until the Empire toys came out they really started getting going. And then G.I. Joe, because G.I. Joes when I was a kid,
they were tiny and they were cheap.
They were $3 a pop.
Yeah,
and I could go when I went with my parents to the like Walmart or whatever to get a thing. I'd be like, I want a G.I. Joe guy, and they'd be like, I mean, even in that time, $3 was more. It was probably more like $7 or $8 in today money, but it wasn't. It was enough that they could just be like, if you behave, I will buy you one G.I. Joe guy. And then it would be like, then they could just make me shut the hell up and I would behave myself and then pick out one G.I. Joe guy. And I'd be like, I want Chuckles today, or I want the Battle Android Trooper. God damn, my brain is full of this information that's never going to do a thing. I could probably name 100 G.I. Joe guys. Fuck. Snowblind.
Also, a lot of G.I. Joe characters and Transformer characters share the same names because Hasbro owned the rights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember the day that that a friend of mine showed me how to take apart G.I. Joe guys and start mixing and matching. And that was kind of the end of my G.I. Joe guys because they all got taken apart. I had a tackle box full of G.I. Joe parts to make my own guys with, and they always looked like garbage. But I never took apart that Storm Shadow with the little gray marks on him because that was a sick action figure. Anyway, number 2 is, what video game series would you love to become a toy line that'd be as famous as Barbie or Kenner Star Wars?
Now I know there are toys for this game series, but the one that I always wished really just became I always thought it would have become like a huge thing was like Mega Man, because that just seems pre-designed to be, because there's a bunch of robots. Yeah, you get different versions of Mega Man. And there are toys. Don't get me wrong, there are toys. They're just not great.
Right.
But games there are some games that have become toy lines that have done pretty well for themselves. But
I think that if I was young, I think that, and I know there are ones. You know what? When I was a kid, this is a little bit of a tangent. There was a series of X-Men figures, and they were real cheap and bad. They were real not good.
Yeah.
And I really wish that there had been like they didn't articulate very much. They were just kind of like put hand up, put hand down. And they were real cheap feeling. They were real cheap plastic. Yeah. I really wish that there had been a good X-Men toy line because I really would have been into that around the time that
this is one based on the cartoon.
Yeah.
Like I remember because I had a bunch of those, and I lost them. Actually, I still had a bunch of them until recently.
Actually, I think the gen that I'm talking about was actually based on the comics.
Are you talking about the Secret Wars ones?
No.
Because
maybe it was those. Wolverine had little things in his arms.
That was Secret War. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were also like the first the '90s Fox Kids cartoon also had those as well.
Yeah. Because I remember that the Wolverine was orange and yellow.
Yeah, that
as
was
opposed
Secret
to blue
Wars.
And yellow.
Yeah, that was the Secret Wars.
But I hate to be cliche. I could see having a Dark Souls action figure that then you could sell the different things to add on to it, which would be kind of cool. I actually have been playing a lot of we're talking about earlier Injustice 2. I can see definitely all that. I mean, I'm going to save it for later, but like goddamn, John, like Injustice 2 is the best DC property that I've seen in years. Like between the story and the characters and the action, like it's better than the movies. It's better than I don't know what I've heard, or better than a lot of the animated stuff that I've seen recently. I can't speak to the comics, but after they did the New 52 reboot, I was kind of like,
Actually, the comics are pretty good right now.
Okay, cool. You know what?
And I'll even say that the comics based on Injustice are equally as good.
Okay. Overwatch
would be great.
Overwatch would be a great action figure.
And I'm talking like legit action figures. I'm not talking about like those chibi things or Funko Pop vinyls.
Something with points of articulation.
Yeah, like actual totally. Overwatch would be fucking great.
In fact, that would actually work really well as a kid's toy because you could have the characters and then you could put out some of the variant costumes with like now it's water blast. Actually, I don't know if kids even care about that anymore, where it's like, this one shoots water. This one glows in the dark. This one's got slime that comes down its face. Like this one's got a little light on the front that goes beep, 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 beep. But that could be cool. It could be really cool.
Yeah, Overwatch would definitely be a good one.
Now, maybe want to make like the big action figures, like the size of like a Centurions or, anyway.
Like Marvel Legends.
Mm-hmm. All right, this next one comes in from Maricus, who says, "Hello, Jeff and John. This is Maricus, and my question this time is, have you ever thought about doing a Sunday cooking show until Red Dead 2? I mean, you talk about food a lot, so why not work and make your lunch or dinner at the same time? And this is P.S. I highly recommend My Hero Academia for Jeff. Yes, the main character cries a lot for the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then he stops for a while. This is the most original show, but it is really fun and entertaining to watch."
Did you and Amanda talk about that last week or something?
I think so.
Yeah, we've only watched the first season. It's good.
I might go back and watch it at some point. Is it on anything but Crunchyroll? I hate Crunchyroll's player a lot.
It's Crunchyroll and Funimation. Funimation's thing.
I look at the art for My Hero Academia and kind of just, oh man,
no, it's good.
High school fucking anyway. I last night after watching the Junji Ito collection, I was just like, you know what? I just need to go watch Mob Psycho 100 because I never watched that, and I want some
good.
One Punch Man, and I hear that's the same creator, right?
Same creator, yeah.
Anyway, why not make a cooking show? Well, Marcus, the main problem I think that I have
is that you didn't present your question as a scathing, insulting, being mean to Jeff.
Jeff, you son of a bitch!
I'm sorry, we can't.
Fuck is my cooking show? Well, the thing that I feel would be a little disingenuous, Marcus, is like all I do is make recipes from the internet. So like it would be a little bit disingenuous to be like, all right, so I'm gonna make the tasty blogs this recipe. Watch me follow the directions one at a time. Boop, 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 boop. Like, I don't cook at a point right now where I'm just like, all right, let's see what we got in the refrigerator. I got some chicken. I got some, I can make a glaze with that mustard from the other day. Oh, you know what would go well with that?
I got a pack of, I got some chicken from the store, and I got a pack of shrimp flavored ramen, and I'll stir fry the noodles, and then I'll take the packet of the shrimp flavor and I'll mix it with a packet of the spicy chili flavor ramen, and then I'll put in some chicken and I'll add some ketchup to that, and it'll be a tasty treat. Maybe even fry an egg and include that in there as well.
That sounds vile.
It's actually not that bad.
That sounds vile.
I had a roommate. Well, remove the ketchup. I actually added that. But
hey, take the ketchup out.
Take the ketchup out and like eggs. Stir fry the ramen noodles.
Okay.
Scramble an egg. Take like a thing of chicken. Cook that. A thing of chicken, and then like put it all together, and then mix the packets of the shrimp and the spicy chili flavor ramen.
Okay.
And like that, literally, he used to live on that stuff. A friend of mine that I used to, because literally he did it because he walked into the kitchen and went, "What do we have?"
Right.
And then just said, "I don't care. I'm just going to put it all together." And then went, "It's not bad.
Yeah,
I'm going to eat this all the time."
I think, and the other thing is that I only have one camera, which would be a little bit difficult to shoot a thing like that. I'd probably like to have, and I would also need like people operating cameras around me, like to do it. I mean, I guess I could do it.
You could do it with webcams,
blog
like,
style.
You could do it with the webcams, like the like on a Ragecast.
Yeah,
just set up the webcams in certain spots, and then just be like, "Hello, welcome to Cooking with Jeff."
I don't know, man. I'm going to fucking make an Instant Pot thing just to be like, motherfuckers, somebody needs to acknowledge how awesome this piece of equipment is.
Somehow figure out a way to make it look like Puppet Jeff is doing all the cooking.
I can't do that. I can't put Puppet Jeff around sauces.
And then, like, get gloves that are felted gloves.
No. So it's my hand? No.
But so it's your hands actually doing the thing?
I think I'm just going to do it naked. I'm going to take out my clothes off. Cook
I'm
naked.
a naked Jeff.
That's right. Just it's always above the counter, though, right? So,
we've already seen you shirtless, so, you got your head shaved.
I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things Marika says, I would like to, because I have been doing a lot of cooking. But like I said, I've just been following other people's recipes, and it's kind of weird to be like, watch me. Here's step 1. I'm going to do step 1. Here's step 2. I'm going to do step 2. Hey, look, I did all the steps, and I got food out of it. Huzzah! I mean, I guess I could mildly alter some of the recipes, but I don't know. I'm not that good yet. I got a book. I want to read this book real fast, and then I'll be fantastical. Then I'll be too good to give my secrets away to the people of Rage Select. That's not true. I'm never too good to give for the people of Rage Select. It's not even a thing.
Yeah, you're just never too good.
That's just true. Joseph writes in and says, "Dear Jeff and scantily clad Sean, I
am scantily clad. How did you know?"
Yes. It's just a bikini, a man's ear, and anyway. I've been recently replaying Scholar of the First Sin, and it got me thinking about bosses in video games. I know you've answered the favorite Souls boss question multiple times, but are there any bosses from other franchises that stick with you the way that the Lady Maria fight does? My personal favorite is the Undead Legion from Dark Souls 3. And then with the Fume Knight, who I just beat last night for the first time, taking a close second. Are there any that you loathe with the fury of 1,000 suns? Thank you for all the wonderful content, your little patron, Joseph. So, boss fights from other franchises. The best boss fights in video games. What do you think?
Oh, in all video games?
Yeah. I had a couple that come to mind.
Go ahead, sir.
I've talked about it before, but the fight between Snake and Revolver Ocelot on top of the submarine at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, where it literally emulates the boss fight from MGS 1, 2, 3, and then 4.
Yeah.
And it changes like the music. It changes what the health bars look like. So it changes the art style of the health bars to look like MGS 1, MGS 2.
Yeah.
And it changes the control input so that in MGS 3, it's like you're doing CQC, and in MGS 1, it's just kind of that basic, 1-2 kick. I think that's a really, really, really good boss fight to really cap off. I'm sorry that I always just say the exact same thing. I'm trying to think of something else. That moment in Super Metroid has one of the greatest boss fights. It's that moment after you beat Mother Brain, and then she stands up and starts attacking you, and then she powers up that beam and shoots you up against the wall, and it takes away all your health. And then she's getting ready to charge up to do that last attack, and the baby Metroid comes in and blocks her and takes her power and puts it into Samus, and then the Mother Brain comes back to life. She's getting ready to charge back up again, and the Metroid comes out to hit her again, and Mother Brain kills her, and then all the little sprinkles fall down on Samus, and you're just like, fuck you! And you got the Omega Beam or whatever it is. That's a really good moment. It tells so much story about that whole... Because that game has very little dialogue at all, but it still tells a really good story. Yeah. I'll think of some other stuff. What else? What do you got? You got anything? Let me think. Great boss fights in video games.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nothing?
I like I said, I'm sure there's tons of them, but that's my thing is I don't focus on oh man, that was a great boss fight. It's it's usually my reaction is, oh man, that was a great fucking game.
Yeah.
And as a whole, it was great. That kind of thing. So I don't know.
Shadow of the Colossus definitely is all boss fights.
Yeah,
those are really the way that they switch between the different ones. That's really awesome. You were talking about Mega Man before. Mega Man's got some of the all-time greatest boss fights, and the kind of push and pull of trying to figure out what order to do stuff in. And then
Mega Man 3's Gamma is pretty good,
especially in the early Mega Mans, because you have so. Because you just get 2 extra lives per level.
Yeah. So
you're trying, and you pick up other extra lives, but when you get to the end, it's it's a real kind of bare white knuckle thing.
Well, Mega Man, I would say Mega Man 3 is interesting because you're going through all the as a whole is because you're going through all the new bosses, the new robot masters.
Sure.
And then you go through, after you defeat all those, you then go into the shadow versions of all the robot masters from Mega Man 2.
Oh, okay.
And so you have to replay all those, and then you get to fight Gamma, which is the big boss, whatever. And then that's kind of the end of the game, and it's kind of ramps it up because even the shadow versions of the characters from Mega Man 2, it's whoa, I'm fighting them, but they're a little bit harder, but they're the same characters and kind of thing. It's also you didn't expect a whole nother game to pop up in the middle of your game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mega Man X had I even thought the Sigma fight at the end of Mega Man X is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of. I'm just trying to kind of rack my brain through game franchises to kind of feel some of the things. That, maybe not even last bosses, but just bosses in general. Symphony of the Night had some really good bosses. There's that one of the giant. It's the Lord of the Flies giant skeleton, and then there's the one that's all the. What's it that big sphere that's just made up of people. That you're just chopping down, and then they come down and they kind of turn into faceless zombies at the bottom of the screen. I'm trying to think of some. Nemesis is cool. I've never actually played through that game, but I like the idea of having just an oncoming boss that you can't get rid of. When we were just finishing up Resident Evil 7, I think that Jack Baker's back again kind of aspect is really, really fantastic. I think I'm going to say that's enough for right now. Yeah. All right, this next one comes in from Will, and Will says, "Hello, Jeff and John. A few days ago, I was listening to YouTube while I was working, and one of the older Rage Like podcasts came up. I don't remember which podcast it was, but I believe it was from somewhere around mid-2015. On the podcast, someone wrote in to ask about a project between you and Jason that you previously alluded to, but it was never revealed exactly what it was. At the time, you didn't give any details, as there was still a possibility that you and Jason would be able to pull it off. So now that it's been nearly 3 years since then, and since we all know that Jason's never coming back to the site on a full-time basis, I have to ask, what was this project that you guys were keeping under wraps? Is it something that has been finished, such as the RDR playthrough, or was it canceled due to other factors? Sorry, I don't have more information, but that's all I remember. If I come across the podcast, link to it in the comments. Thanks, Will." Do you know the answer to this question?
Wasn't it just Red Dead Redemption?
No, it was something different. It was a very different thing. Yeah, I guess it's probably we're never going to see that happen, and with Red Dead 2, even if we did. Okay, well, I'll say, because previously my thing had been I wanted it to be a surprise, and if I talked about it, then it wouldn't have been a surprise. But the way that sequentials and stuff are going, even if we were going to do this by some drastic miracle, it would be like 4 years into the future before we'd even get to do it. Somebody was going to mod the character model of John Marsden from Red Dead into Fallout 3, and we were going to do John Marsden, time traveler in the future, searching for Greedo in the wasteland of Fallout 3, because, there's enough of the dialogue tree in Fallout 3 that we could have been a humongous asshole. There's enough. I know enough about the combat system of Fallout 3 to cheat it to the point of John Marsden having just like 6 shooters or, handguns at least that would just blast people's heads off, and that whole VATS thing of just watching him. But the main thing was trying to get his character model in there, because the hard thing is that there's not a good John Marsden character model wandering around. Like there was actually that one in GTA 5 that was for the GTA Online where Marsden was one of the parents, but it's just the top of him. Like it doesn't actually have any arms or legs.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get to mod him into GTA 4. Remember when we did the 1 million hits and we put him in GTA 4. But that was the idea, was to basically have our next thing. I think it was after Batman, maybe, was going to be Fallout 3. But the person that we had working on that just ran into a lot of technical difficulties and was not able to really get it working in any way where we could actually make it work.
Yeah.
But that was the idea. I don't know. Maybe someday, maybe years in the future, you'll hear it. You'll see it again. We got another boss question coming in from Henry. Henry says, I've been playing Borderlands the pre-sequel recently and got to the final boss of the Enter the Claptrap DLC, and for the life of me, I cannot beat the bastard with any character. But then I shouldn't be surprised since the same thing happened like 3 times in Borderlands 2. So I have 2 questions. Can you offer any advice on beating him, and what are your least favorite boss battles? So we've had most favorite and now least favorite. All hail Don Cleese, and this is from Henry. Did you play the Borderlands DLC, John?
I don't think I played that specific DLC, but I did play the pre-sequel, and I did beat the pre-sequel.
Okay.
I just don't think I played that DLC.
Mm-hmm. I can't offer you any solutions outside of get other people, try respecing your build for a different thing, go grind for the specific guns that do damage. I mean, the internet's going to tell you more than I ever could, Henry.
I'm going to say GameFAQs.
Yeah, probably.
GAMEFAQ.com.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's it. But let's see. Least favorite boss battles. What do you think, John?
Again, going back to a thing of I don't really. I mean, there's there's times where I think there was in one of the wrestling games. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
There's where you get to the final match of the story mode, and it's literally impossible.
Yeah.
Because, like, the requirements to win are so fucking bullshit that the game cheats.
Oh.
Even at the rules that it's giving you, the game cheats.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just insane. I can't remember which one it is, because I'm sure there's more than one of them. I know the TNA video game also did that as well.
Okay.
The TNA wrestling video game. That one was weird because the game's like a cakewalk all the way until the final match, and then it's like nothing you can do is good. Like nothing works. Like everything is reversed. Everything is, it's just like super frustrating.
I've got one.
Okay.
Frank Fontaine from BioShock.
Okay.
Was not really very. It's funny because he's such a devious and kind of diabolical character, and then he pulls basically a similar thing to another, what I would consider to be not a mechanically bad boss fight, but a thematically bad boss fight, which is a Monster Joker at the end of Arkham Asylum, where it's kind of like, it seems very out of place that this character that was very devious and manipulative is now just like, and now I'm a giant hulking muscle monster, and I'm going to punch you with my muscle hands. And I don't know what I would have done differently, but usually at the end of BioShock, all you have to do is make enough shock gel, and then you can just, because it shocks the person that you're shooting with it damages them and it stuns them. And so when I get to the end of that game, it's just like you just look at Frank Fontaine, hold down the shock gel button, and he just can't move, and he's just taking damage. And then you got to wait for him to go charge back up, and he comes out and he does that like 3 times, and then it's over. And it's just a real blech. Like it just blech, doesn't really do very much. There were a couple here I was looking at a list on the internet, and there were a couple here from fighting games that I think definitely could. A lot of fighting game end bosses that I feel like are overtly difficult, are more difficult than they should be. Like, I actually think that although I've had a lot of trouble over the years with Street Fighter II and Bison, I feel like there's definitely an upward curve that works better in Street Fighter II than in a lot of other games, because, you go through your normal people, and then it's Balrog, who's fast and aggressive and hits hard, and then it's Vega, who's jumping all over the place, and then you've got Sagat, who's kind of got the projectile game to match up, with a lot of the projectile characters, and then it's like you're finally on M. Bison, who just seems like a real crushing, problem at first, but that you can really get to. But this list had Street Fighter 4's Seth, who I think is some bullshit.
Seth is pretty bullshit, though I actually feel like there is a Street Fighter main boss that is worse.
Who's that?
Which I'm trying to remember his name. Gil, thank you.
From Street Fighter 3?
Yes. Gil can go fuck himself.
Yeah. Yeah, Gil's a real son of a bitch.
2-colored fucking
Yep.
bullshit.
Yep. Because I was also thinking about, like,
Two-faced looking motherfucker.
Mortal Kombat. It's like you go through the original Mortal Kombat, you go through Goro, who I feel like Goro's a little overpowered, but you can also cheese dick him.
Shao Kahn was also kind of
Shao Kahn, especially in Mortal Kombat 9. At the end of that game, when you got all the way to the end of the story mode, every time Shao Kahn came up, and I was just like, fuck, because he's just like, bam, bam, throw you over here in 2 combos, and then combo, and then you're dead. But at least, I think it was Virtua Fighter 4, where you got to the last boss and you got one shot at beating them, and then if you couldn't continue. It would throw you back to the beginning. You had to work your way back up to that boss every time. That was some horse shit, because fuck, man, like, no. Trying to think of other bullshit bosses. Looking at this list online, they had Capra Demon, which I think a lot of people don't like, but yeah, Ruby Weapon from Final Fantasy VII. I was never able to beat any of the weapons from Final Fantasy VII. That's a good one. Mike Tyson from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
I never beat Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I used to be able to get to Mike Tyson. Couldn't beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Because he had that bullshit where he was just like...
There was a time when I could. Now I can't. But,
He had two frames. And then bam. And then if he hits you, you're just like down on the ground. Trying to think of anybody else. A lot of this has been just fighting games.
Well, yeah, because fighting games are always infuriating.
This is weird. This list has Psycho Mantis on it. I think Psycho Mantis is a very memorable and good.
Yeah, I thought that was a very good boss fight.
And this is Senator Armstrong. I was just talking about. You know what? I got to stop looking at this list. I'm trying to think of anybody else that maybe comes immediately to mind. Because I got one more question. Oh, yeah. In that same list, they were also talking about, they also had Galactus from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, who I also was kind of like, this is fucking bullshit, man. Yeah. I think. Yep. All right. Last question for today, and this one is from, this is a hypothetical, from, I'm going to call you BM. Says, this isn't a video game question, but more of a would you rather. Would you take 10 years off your lifespan if it meant you will always be physically able? No arthritis or brittle bones. However, this doesn't include mental illnesses like Alzheimer's. Would you take 10 years off your lifespan if you could be physically capable all the way up to your death?
No, I'm good.
I would. Take that in a second. Well, I don't know. Again, you guys need to get more specifics in your hypotheticals. Like, do I get fat still? Am I like physically fit? Is it disease or also like, I mean, like obviously there's the arthritis or brittle bones are like symptoms of being old, right? But like, does it mean no cancer? Like, am I immune to cancer until I die? Because if that's so, yeah. Because I get cancer and then die. Like, that would be worth taking 10 years off my life.
But what if it turned out that taking 10 years off your life meant you died today?
Oh, no! Then my work has been completed because I completed another Rage Select podcast. Send in your questions and hypotheticals to mail@rageselect.com. But please don't ask us what our favorite or least favorite bosses are, because I feel like we pretty much exhausted that particular topic. Remember, to all of you sending in questions,
be very mean to Jeff.
Be very mean to Jeff. But what is your favorite is a very difficult thing to kind of come up with right on the spot.
What is your favorite or least favorite?
Yeah.
Because Jeff doesn't tell us these questions beforehand. He just reads them and says, this is what we're doing.
I usually pick them out like 10 minutes before we start. So,
and I don't find out about them until he's telling me.
It's true. It's very true. I don't even have time to think about them. I don't even pick the ones that are easy to answer. Anyway, mail@ragesite.com. That's the thing. And, yeah, I think we're done. You're going to go make the ramen, the double ramen chicken egg ketchup ramen or whatever it was?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.